Welcome to Truth Dojo. Today is the finale of the Persona series, which is exciting. And the title of today's session is Individuation, Persona as a Process. And we'll get into that more. Individuation is one of my favorite words, and it's also a word that we haven't talked about a whole lot, so we can get into what that means and why that's important. And persona as a process is also going to be very powerful. Q mentioned something today, or posted something by Matt Kahn today, which was really relevant to this. So if you get a chance to see that post, that would be cool. And Chanel, I meant to ask you if you would be interested in doing the opening meditation. You're muted though, so.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I will go ahead and hand it off to Chanel to ground all of us, and then we're going to have a powerful discussion, but also I'm intending a lot of fun today. I'm intending to bring in more deliciousness, levity, and we can have a powerful conversation and also have fun with it too. So that's my intention. So I'll mute myself now, Chanel. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, so go ahead and close your eyes. And let's take some deep breaths together. So deep breath into the belly, filling up the lung space and keeping a straight spine so you can get the most out of your breathing. And just bringing your awareness deeper into the body, sinking down into the belly. Just slow, deep inhales and exhales. Fully arriving here and now. And just bringing your awareness to any places in your body where you may be holding some emotions or some tension or stress, and intentionally sending your breath there. Feeling those contracted parts begin to expand and release. And letting go of anything you don't need to hold on to right now. Maybe inviting in some gentle movement into the body as well. Maybe wiggling your spine. Maybe shaking your arms out. Maybe moving your feet and your legs. As you move, bringing more of your presence into the body. And you can try gently swaying your spine forward and backward, side to side. Maybe making some gentle circles. Filling up with your breath, with your life force energy. And just calling in all of yourself to be here now. Leaving nothing out. It's all welcome. Now breathing deeply into the heart space. Maybe in the center of your body, you feel this deep connection to all that you are. Letting the heart guide the way. Maybe gently rolling the shoulders up and back, making more space for your heart to open and receive. And letting the breath move through your heart space, clearing out any stuckness, making way for more openness and receptivity. Feeling your roots anchoring here into this time and space. Perhaps call to mind an image of a tree. Invite that image into your body. See your own body as a tree, with a heart at the center, but with roots that go down deep into the earth, and branches that extend outward to the sky. Feel your branches now intertwining with the branches of the others in this group. Feel your roots interweaving, gathering the nourishment that is here beneath the soil. Tapping into that interconnectivity that is ever present. You are not alone, even when you think you may be. Even when this existence feels separating. And allow for that interdependence, that interconnectivity to support you in your individuation, in your differentiation, feeling yourself as a unique tree amidst this forest of interweaving trees. We each have our own unique soul signature, our unique essence that we bring. And it's an essence that is somewhat formed by every unique experience we undergo on the soul's journey. So sending gratitude and appreciation for all of you, all that you've experienced and all that you are, for it is a gift. It is the gift you have to bring to others, to help support others, to help them realize their own individuality, So let yourself feel the gift you uniquely bring to helping others to grow and expand, and feel their unique essence and power as well. How can you be in right relationship with everything that is, so that you're confidently supporting this web of interdependence while also maintaining your individual sovereignty? Finding this balance in yourself. How do you uniquely accomplish this? And what lessons do you feel you still have to learn? Support you may still have yet to call in to your life? What do you need right now? Sending gratitude to yourself, to your own heart, for being able to feel everything that you need. It's all such beautiful information. So how can you embody that even more? How can you express it in the world? How can you ask and receive what will support you in more growth? So fully permissioning yourself and fully appreciating yourself right now for all that you are and all that you bring. Taking one last deep breath into your heart. Thanking your heart. Thanking your heart for always being there, a source of connection. I invite you to connect hearts with the others in this group when that feels right for you. You can imagine this, just visualizing it inside yourself, or you can open your eyes and take in the faces in front of you on the screen. How do you wish to show up to support and be supported? What way do you uniquely do this? So staying connected inside yourself, maintaining that presence with your own heart. While you take in your external world, the presence, the shared presence of this group. Staying with the breath. Noticing what comes up, what's here today to be explored. remembering that you can always breathe down any excess energy down your back and into the earth, grounding it, letting go of what you don't need. Thank you for arriving with me into this present moment.
I'd like to share that while we were all trees, a caterpillar fell on me.
I love caterpillars. Thank you, Chanel. Thank you, everybody. That was awesome. So, yeah, as I mentioned, we're going to have a bit of a shorter, more traditional discussion, so that we can leave time for some integration of the entire series at the end of this for the last 30 minutes. And also, yeah, I just want to reaffirm my intention of levity. You know, sometimes I can be a little bit analytical. I can be a little bit heady with some of my discussion, because I just like to nerd out on how things technically work. And for me, that brings about levity. For me, that brings about like, ooh, this is fun. But you know, maybe that's not the case for everybody. So whatever you need to have more fun, I invite you to bring that today, right? Because you are the session, right? You are the one who is creating the experience. And that's why, you know, I'm so fond of the concept of true participation, because it's bringing out who you are and what you need and what you're passionate about. It's not a lecture, right? It's not a class. It's not, it's a real community created experience. And I know you know that, but I'm just reminding. So, yeah, today's session is, again, individuation, persona as a process. And I created that name intentionally to kind of, what's the word? It just plants a seed of what personas are about and what creates a need for personas. And I have decided to describe this in a bit of a technical way. So I'm going to have fun with it, but like I said, I like to nerd out about getting under the hood with this stuff. So can I get a show of hands of how many of you are familiar with the basic concept of how of what are meridians in like Chinese medicine, the basic 12 Chinese meridians? Just the concept. You don't have to be an expert in it, but okay, cool. So in Chinese medicine, the body is mapped out with 12 different meridians, 6 arm meridians and 6 leg meridians. And 3 of each are yin, feminine, and 3 of each are yang, masculine. And so that means there's a total of 6 feminine and 6 masculine channels. Meridians are channels that travel through the body, um, all bodies. And so these are um, aspects of our being, which because they're channels, these are aspects in which energy moves through us. And so, and I also want to mention, I made a little list here for myself. There's 12 meridians, there's 12 layers of DNA, there's 12 fundamental archetypes, there's 12 species that were combined to create humans, and then there's the 12 tribes of Israel. So 12 is an interesting number, being that there's 12 meridians. So I want to emphasize that when we are being a person, all of our being comes from all of our meridians. So even when I'm speaking to you now, my leg meridians are engaged in how I'm transmitting. My arm meridians are engaged in how I'm transmitting. All of our being comes through, all of our meridians come through in what we're doing and who we're being. And so if our personality structure is pulling from, let's say, 8 of the 12 meridians, then 4 of our meridians, this is me doing math, that was pretty good. 4 of our meridians are going to be habitually blocked as we are being our regular personality structure. So if our regular personality structure is missing 4 of our meridians, based on our wounding patterns, our sense of self, then we will have to occasionally oscillate into a persona that will extract the energy from those 4 meridians that are being blocked in this example. So that means if for example, if I have a personality structure, my default personality structure, which never gets angry, like I am always happy, I'm always peaceful, I'm always this, I'm always that, and then we have to get angry because it's like, oh my God, that person just punched me in the face, gotta get angry now. Then we have to, in order to draw that energy out of the 4 meridians that are blocked, we have to go into this angry character, which is like, how dare you, I am the victim, I am this, I am going to kill you. And then that draws the energy out so that we don't get sick, or so that we don't pass out. And so personas are giving us access to parts of our bodies and channels in our bodies that we don't normally have access to, and we might not normally need access to them unless we're in a situation that calls for it, right? So this is what a trigger is. We are triggered into a persona that draws energy from through our meridians in a different way, and therefore draws energy through our layers of DNA, archetypes, all the different things that I mentioned earlier. We are drawing energy from our system through different channels when we are embodying a persona. And so therefore our process of being a person, our process of growing, our process of understanding ourselves needs personas in order to switch over and be different aspects of ourselves that we don't normally get to be. And in doing so, if we are a persona, like let's say I'm an angry character, then if that angry character is embodying 4 of those 12 meridians, then the 8 that my normal personality structure normally embodies are being avoided while those 4 are getting attention. So then we're in this situation where we need to be triggered in this type of structure in order to move around within our body, move around within our meridians. And so if I'll just click enter on that node there with the 12 and 12 and 12. So personas are a part of our process, right? And our process of being a person, our process of moving energy, our process of self-realization. And so the emphasis today is that personas are not wrong, right? Personas can be authentic because we need to move that energy. So the benefit of this kind of conversation is making personas conscious, not wrong, right? And now I want to talk about individuation. Individuation, personas as a process is today's title.
Could I jump in with a quick question?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm curious how dream space might be a part of this, because I, for example, have a lot of difficulty expressing anger during my waking life. Mm-hmm. So I go on like murdering rampages at nighttime.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like, if I'm not allowing myself to ever be angry during the day, then I'm going to have to sink into those meridians at night where the anger needs to move through. And so it's great that you're conscious of that, because it shows you that the character that you're playing in the dream space wants to be accessible during waking space too, right? So just for example, like it's your dog there, you could say to your dog like, "Oh, sweetie, you are so cute. Maybe I'm gonna murder you later because that's gonna make me feel better." And that's a persona, but it's funny, but it could also like release an aspect of the energy that's stuck in that meridian that normally says, "I'm not allowed to threaten people's lives," or dog people. And so yeah, that's a great point, is that in our dream space, the dreams are making up for whatever we are suppressing in our waking space. And that's actually the whole reason we need to sleep, is in order to dream, in order to move the energy through our meridians that get stuck based on our waking personality structure. So you could say that our dream space is the opposite, or not the opposite, but the remainder of the meridians are embodied during our dream space, as opposed to the ones that we embody during our waking state. So,
could you talk a little bit about what each of the meridians are?
Yeah, sure.
That take too long, but yeah. What meridian is.
Absolutely, yeah. So first I will, I was gonna just copy and paste this here. Yeah, I guess I'll just paste this this URL that you can look over at your convenience. And meridians are really an example, right? Because this is just one system. We could do the same conversation using archetypes. We could do the same conversation using the layers of DNA. You know, there's different structures, there's different models, and meridians is only one model, but it's a really beautiful one. So, you know, use that. The images in there kind of demonstrate where meridians exist on the body and all that stuff. For me, my waking personality structure typically, when I shut down, when I become afraid, my spleen meridian is always the first one to shut down. And so that means I have sort of a chronic pain in my left armpit and then my spleen area, because this is and then there's certain psychological correspondences that connect with that particular meridian, and so you could analyze that and you could see exactly what I'm afraid of, basically. It's like and that's a yin meridian, so you can see exactly which aspect of the feminine that my waking personality structure fears. And so when I go into dream space, I am having the most crazy, like chaotic, feminine splenic dreams, because that is normally shut down in my waking state. And so I have to move into that exact meridian in order to clear that channel when I'm sleeping. So, and if anybody has any other questions about this, feel free to, oh, thank you, Q, for another image there. Yeah, you feel free to chat questions about this or about that topic, or you can ask me. So what does this have to do with individuation? Individuation is fundamentally knowing that we are an individual person, especially in contrast from our parents, right? I am not my mother, I am not my father. And we might know that intellectually, but the body might still believe I am my mother or I am my father. And the evidence of that is, I'll just speak for myself, my father also habitually shuts down the exact same splenic meridian that I do. And that's in relationship to how he fears his mother. And so I have a similar relationship with my mother that I've inherited, because that aspect of me wants to be individuated and wants to gain a new perspective. And this is helpful just for me to say out loud. I'm actually moving through this as I'm talking. This is outlining my process that I can have a different experience than my father has, a different relationship to myself than my father has to himself. And so that permission to be an individual is called individuation. And so moving through personas is how we individuate is by personas meeting each other, right? So if I have 6 different characters that I be, those characters meeting one another creates a fluidity where we can consciously move between them and express ourselves in different ways. And so meeting one another, which is what I love the quantum theater process for, meeting one another is how we create individuation, because we get to experience each persona gets to experience, and each persona gets to grow as a person, as a individual, gets to mature by getting more permission from the other personas. And so that creates a fluidity process where, if you imagine, like, these are my personas, they meld together into one, and then I become whole. And obviously I already am whole, but the personas melding together is psychological wholeness. It's realizing wholeness. Even though we already are whole, we might not realize it. And so bringing these together and weaving our stories together, that's why I like to call myself the story weaver. Weaving these stories together creates this psychological oneness where we have permission all the time to be who we are and to need what we need and to feel what we feel. And so, interestingly, when we have woven these stories together, we no longer dream, because dreaming is for the reconnecting of these stories. And so people who no longer dream still need a little bit of rest, but it might be 2 hours, it might be 1 hour of rest every evening in order to just give the body a break. But when we no longer dream, it changes our needs drastically. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, of course. I just want to give that disclaimer. You know, we're all in our process is beautiful. And I just love to nerd out about these mechanics and this story weaving process. So that's about all I want to say for getting this going. And I would love to hear what this looks like for you. And I will say to Flick's question, do you have a reference for the different meanings of each meridian? I'm definitely not an expert in meridians. I am more of my expertise lies within 12 archetypes. I could send you a PDF that I made about 12 archetypes and how it relates to branding, and that's a whole different thing. But brands like tend to express in archetypes. Like, for example, Dove soap could be like the caretaker and the like the queen caretaker archetype. And so I have a document about how archetypes express. So that's something we could talk about, but that's a different topic. So I just want to read Q's message there. Q said, individuation is fundamentally knowing that we are an individual person, especially in contrast to our parents. I'm not my mother. I'm not, oh yeah, that's what I said. I'm not my father. Cool. So I'm gonna let go of the technical stuff now, and I invite you to explore, like in real time, what does this mean for your life, and you know, have fun with it. We don't have to be, there's no perfection to be had here. If you need to process something with us all, you know, don't hide yourself, bring that forward, and let's enjoy the process. So I'm going to shut up now. Thank you. And I'll see who wants to speak next.
I don't really have a conceptualization that helps me with the meridians, or I can't link that to my life, and that's fine. But I guess the thing that's coming up for me is what you mentioned about other people, and the permission that being around other people gives you to express, to get deeper into my own individuation process. And I remember a while ago I came up with this metaphor of being like a piano, and this was coming to me at a time when I was like, oh, why can't I be my like silly self around my tantra friends, or why can't I be my like sort of like wild woman around my burner friends, and realizing that the way I showed up around different groups was different, and I initially internalized that and like attacked myself and was like, oh, you're not in contact enough with those parts of yourself, or you're not courageous enough to bring them out. And then I guess I had some coaching around it and came up with this metaphor of a piano. Like I have all the keys, and actually the sounds that I make or the way I express isn't just a function of like it's not entirely my responsibility, or it's not entirely in my conscious control, that like a different piano player, different person will create different sounds, the way the piano's tuned, the room it's in, the piece that's chosen, the genre of the piece, like the size of the piano, how hot or cold the day is, all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, I guess it's just reminding me of that thing around different people creating permission in different areas. And I've really seen that in my capacity to express emotions and to embody emotions like rage, grief, or sadness. Being around people that are very emotionally permissive themselves helps me really to get deeper into my process around those. And being around people that are, I have a lot of friends that are very, what I would say is kind of sexually liberated. And that gives me permission to go into that myself and work through shame and judgment. Yeah, and I think that, I think that I know myself deeper through the mirroring that I get by seeing parts of myself in other people. I'm not sure that I have a more concrete example of that now, I guess, other than like, that thing around kind of emotionally expressive and sexually expressive. And really, I think the archetype that's arriving for me at the moment is the wild woman, and exploring more of like that wildness. And it's so important for me to be around permissive people in that process, because there are so many people that it's like the courage comes from seeing others express their embodied wildness as well. I'll leave it there for now. That's just what was coming up.
I would love to kind of just, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'd love to kind of just demonstrate how meridians like play roles. So I think I'm going to stand up for that since I have the space to do that here. And also my mom just joined, so hi Mom, welcome. Okay, so maybe I'll move the camera up a little bit. Okay, so let's say let's say my right, I don't know what meridian this is, but let's say this is active right now, and this is my my regular personality structure. So let's say my regular personality structure, my left arm is kind of blocked, and I'm kind of like, hey, I'm right-handed and I'm like very active, and hey, this is me, like this is my regular personality structure. How you doing? Well, my left arm kind of hurts, but I don't really know what's going on. You want to shake my hand? Here we go. Okay, here we go. So this is my personality structure, and I'm active here. And then like somebody cuts me off while I'm driving, and I'm like, fuck you, man! How do you do that? What? Oh man! Oh, how do you? Right? So when this part gets triggered, that comes alive, and then I mentally don't like it, because I don't like getting angry. I don't like that they cut me off, but they needed to cut me off, or I needed somebody to cut me off in order to activate what I think I don't like, in order to bring out and actually clears this channel, because it activates this aspect of me that is latent and dormant. And so by being so this is why I mentioned probably last session or the session before that, how negative and positive are both necessary aspects of a magnet, right? So if I'm always in this friendly character, then that's so positive that I need to go into the negative in order to balance it out. And if I don't do that intentionally, if I don't do that consciously, then it creates a lack or a deficiency of that negative energy, and then I need somebody to trigger me. I'm just waiting for somebody to cut me off and trigger me in order to release that channel where I can be like, okay, now I'm letting it all out because you're the one who, this is where we get the idea of blame. I'll sit down now. This is where we get the idea of blame and fault. And really, anyone that we're blaming is actually doing us a favor of clearing out our unconscious channels, right? So let me know if that resonates or if that is helpful, or if you have more questions.
Can I just say one more thing as well? And it's really serendipitous to me that this topic was chosen today. Because this week I was assaulted on Tuesday, and then I had my scooter stolen today.
Wow.
It's like, both times I've had this kind of thing of like, just been the nice girl, like been the nice person, trying to be nice to them, like immediately just being like, okay, this has happened, what am I learning from it? And it builds up this energy that I then need to go and release by being like, fuck you for stealing my scooter, fuck you, and like attacking a pillow or something. And like even just expressing that now, I felt like a jolt of life force, because all day I've just been like, okay, fine, my scooter's gone, like, I just need to like accept it. And then it like builds up a pressure inside me that needs to be released if I'm being this kind of sunshine and rainbows and all loving and fine about it. But actually there's another side of the coin that is also true, which is like, I'm fucking pissed off. And I know I created the situation with the scooter for various reasons, but there's also like this rage that wants to be expressed. And I really related with that metaphor of needing something to trigger us to allow that side to come out. Super serendipitous topic.
I want to respond to that. Also, I'm really glad I have permission to have road rage. What Abby was talking about with the anger brings me back to the thought process from, I guess, toward the beginning of when we started this journey with true participation, when like both Joshua and Hilmar had talked about life is fucking us. And it's like, if like life does fuck you, and if you don't fuck it back sometimes, then you're always the one getting fucked, so you kind of have to like put it back to it. You got to release that energy, or you're just always the one taking it. Like, don't take it all the time. Give it back sometimes. I totally understand that too, because I too have a problem getting angry, and I work in retail. So Tuesday, I came home from work and I sat in my car after I got home and I screamed for 5 minutes at the top of my lungs, which I don't do that. And I was like, wow, there's something going on here. And it was funny because Hilmar had gave me some tips for clearing a blockage in my throat chakra last Sunday. And so I had been doing that for a couple of days already. And so on Tuesday, I was like, this shit is working.
I love that's your wrap up.
I have a question. So Joshua, you mentioned earlier, like, if, for example, you're like a super positive person, then once in a while, like, life will have to trigger the negativity out of you. I think I still have a lot of resistance when it comes to negativity in general. Like, as much as logically it makes sense that, things have to be balanced in this life, I think there's still a lot of resistance in me, which is why I think my first thought would be, could you then just be less positive so then you don't have to be as negative if it's all about balance? does that help as well, or should you just be as positive as you can and then also be as negative as you can? I don't know.
That's an interesting question. Yeah. Well, I would say that would be a persona of being less positive, because if you're naturally positive, then the persona of being less positive is a negative persona.
Yeah.
Right. So that is to say, we can't diminish our soul, right? We can't diminish our expression without some kind of energetic consequences, because we are here to be as positive as possible and as negative as possible, and to be the full spectrum of our soul's expression. And when I say as negative as possible, that doesn't mean negative like violent. It means negative like feminine. Like masculine is the positive polarity, and feminine is the negative polarity. And so we have to learn how to be in our feminine as much as our soul requires of us, and we have to learn how to be in our masculine as much as our soul requires of us. So and I know this is a big reorientation, because usually people talk about, like, you know, what's with all the negativity, like as if negativity is wrong. But again, this is like society is geared toward trying to get rid of the feminine, which is the spell that we're undoing now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a part of what you said about the negativity persona is that our neutral baseline is not relative to all the other people or how we perceive all the other people around us, but it's relative to our own soul. And so if you're being positive, it's only positive if it's positive relative to your natural soul. Yeah, that's what I'm taking from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Our own truth. I'll let Flick say something. Real quick, I wanted to say, this is just occurring to me. Notice how everybody laughs differently, right? Laughter is like dreaming. Laughter is clearing exactly what needs to be cleared, because laughter isn't a thing that we're choosing. Laughter isn't like a conscious, like, here's how I'm going to laugh right now. Laughter is designed, and crying too, is designed to clear exactly how our individual system needs to be cleared out, right? Some people will laugh like, some people laugh like, ha, ha, ha. You know, there's like all different kinds of laughing and crying, because our body knows exactly how to clear what our personality structure gunks up. Yeah, Flick, please.
That's really cool to think about the laughter. Yeah, I like when you first said about triggers, we get triggered so that we're unable to clear something like a block or use a persona that we're not normally flexing because we suppress it. Like, I really love that idea of the universe almost sending us an occasion to trigger it for us to get it out. And then that kind of links with what you just said about, like, we can't diminish our expression without some consequences. So now I'm wondering if often we'll get triggered and that could lead to like a really negative consequence. Like, you might express anger at the wrong person in the wrong way because that muscle's never being flexed, so it might just go a bit wild. So I'm wondering if instead of needing those triggers to let that energy out, we can do maintenance instead. So we can have, like, when we sense a bit of anger, or even not having anger, we can go and whack the bed with a broom, which I love doing regularly, and calling it many horrible swear words. And like kind of like checking in with our personas, just to be like, how are you doing? Is everyone in check? Or like checking the family's okay. And then I feel like they might get triggered less, and it would kind of be less potent, potentially less poisonous to others if put in the wrong direction. That's definitely my experience, I think. Do you think that's the thing, the whole maintenance thing?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's my experience too. That's super, super valuable. And it's a lot safer for those around us also.
Yeah. Drum, did you want to say something?
If you're going to respond, I think you should dive in with that.
Okay, cool. So oftentimes in the morning, I do this thing that my normal personality structure doesn't do this, but this is like an intentional practice. Right? And so this is maintenance. I don't know, I wouldn't make that sound unless I knew it was good for me. So this is maintenance, and it's clearing out my channel. And you know, people do like, you know, spiritual chanting. They used to do like Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Nam Myoho Renge Kyo for like hours, and this clears out channels because, and this is what, you know, spiritual practices are for, is for that maintenance and for getting us in touch. And that felt really good just doing that. This gets us in touch with aspects of our channels that don't normally get attention unless we're triggered. And so I would say just the caveat is like, I don't do this in order to get triggered less, because triggers are portals to higher consciousness, right? We have to get triggered as we have to, and it's out of our control. But it's really about making friends with our triggers. Like, let's say if I get triggered on this call here, you might not even know it, because I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to move into it playfully, and I'm not going to suppress it, and I'm not going to wish it away. I'm going to say, all right, hold on, everybody, let's stop everything. I want to like experience this energy that's coming through. And that's how I'm going to position it. Not like, uh-oh, I'm triggered, I need to like stop and get rid of it, right? And so if we position ourselves, our relationship with our triggers as like fundamentally like, oh good, I'm triggered, as opposed to uh-oh, I'm triggered, it creates a relationship where, you know, I just perceive it as that is interesting. There is an interesting energy that wants to make its way out here. Oh my God, I'm gonna go on a murdering rampage now. This is great news. and you know, of course I don't always do it perfectly, but this is the intention, is to give ourselves an opportunity to change, right? And this is the main thing, is that humans are generally fundamentally afraid of change, because we feel, if I change my relationship to myself so drastically, you know, aka a trigger, that I will not be trustworthy. I will not know who I am. I will not be able to control my actions. I might kill somebody. I might be a bitch. I might be a toxic person, whatever it is that our fear is. And if we can, and here's the trick, is like, the mind is the adult, right? The mind is the inner adult. The mind is the one who chooses how to, where to funnel the river, right? Or how to funnel the river. A better way to say that is the masculine is the what, and the feminine is the how. So if the inner child, which is the feminine, is in a mode of a trigger, is in a, okay, it's time for me to express anger, whatever it is, the how it's being expressed is that it's angry, is the how, and then the what is the masculine. So that's, what am I going to do with that anger, right? So if my inner adult has nothing to do with it, if I'm completely checking out, mentally, then my inner child could express anger like, you are the worst person I have ever met, and I just can't stand you, and blah, blah, blah. And it becomes very destructive. It becomes very toxic and self-sabotaging. But if our inner adult stays online during that time, and it takes some discipline to do so, if our inner adult stays online, we can take that same anger and we can say, I am raging right now, and there is so much energy coming out of me, and I really intended to punch you in the face and take all of your guts and squirt them all over the whole house, and I am going to burn this house down. And I really notice that there is so much rage coming out of me, but I don't have to express it in a self-sabotaging way, because you can't take back the words that you're sharing. And so if my adult is guiding the force of this powerful river, God, that felt so good already. If my adult is guiding that powerful river, then I can do so in a way that honors me, honors my surroundings, honors the people around me, and gives me it gives me backup. It gives me, it's life honoring. So, yeah, does that make sense?
Flick kind of inspired a question, which I think you pretty much answered, but I've got another one as well. So I was thinking, like, when you're expressing that negative energy, can you kind of finesse it? So in a previous session, you talked about kind of, I can't remember what it was, but you talked about the kind of crazy homeless person expressing a persona, and it doesn't come across very understandable, but you can actually kind of form it into a character that is actually really understandable. And so it sounds like, from what you've been saying, that like actually not only can we be excited about this trigger and like move with that trigger and express it, but we can also, to a degree, like finesse it and kind of shape how it comes across to people and how it's understood by people as well, which is really exciting, actually, the idea that you can kind of channel it towards something that is in some way constructive. I mean, even if it's like giving permission to other people to express these types of energies, or I don't really know. And it also kind of, there's a bit where it's like not just about ourselves, but I feel like there's a role we can play with other people in our lives, where we can like maybe see that there's a trigger that needs to be expressed and give them permission, but on top of that, to help them express it or channel it in a way that they would feel comfortable with, maybe that is socially acceptable, or maybe that isn't harmful, but kind of give them permission and kind of accelerate them in a specific direction that isn't harmful but fully expresses it. And I'm no master of that, but that sounds like something that's like totally feasible and totally a gift that we can give to other people around us. So those are the kind of thoughts. I also wanted to like just express that I would love to touch any more on society suppressing feminine energies and what that undoing is, because that feels like a really big thing for me. So like, yeah, if we ever kind of like dive into that, like my ears are going to be pricked up for sure.
Great. Before I go into that, I would love to see if Katie, if someone else would like to talk about that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. In fact, I'm feeling a lot of emotions right now, and I really love the question about like, how have we been suppressing negative energy or suppressing feminine energy? And it's the way we relate to our sadness and our hurt, just even in ourselves. We've been taught that that is negative and that is bad, and we can't fully feel into that safely, because we will be in a bad state. We will feel pain. It will be bad. We even call it pain, which has this like negative connotation. And in reframing sadness. Like sadness and negative emotions are emotions that pull us into ourselves, that pull us into our heart. Our positive emotions are emotions that take us out into the world. And when we're experiencing something negative, instead of saying, I'm in pain, I'm hurt, we could try saying, I need to spend more time with myself. It's time for me to get closer to my heart. My heart is asking for my attention. And that's something that isn't talked about really. Like that interpretation of sadness is not one that is in the mainstream narrative. And it's something that I'm currently learning in myself right now, like letting myself be with my hurt and my pain, even when it feels like this morning, I know Joshua alluded to our emotional experience, and I'm happy to talk about it. I was feeling very triggered by, and I could feel myself, and even in this conversation, I've been like internally beating myself up about like, did I not deal with my trigger the right way? Did I say something hurtful? I don't know. I don't know. But I try to have this orientation as much as possible. It's hard to when you're in the moment of feeling like hurt. I literally was sitting on a chair and just like crying. And I forget what Joshua said, but I was just like, I flipped him off. And it was because I didn't want to say anything hurtful. And I also didn't want to, I was like, I need you to know I'm not ready to be talked to. And and again, but everything's resonating with like, well, I needed to be triggered in that way. And I also needed to like acknowledge a part of myself that needed to be expressed, and it allowed for me to get in touch with like, oh my gosh, my inner child feels like she's being tamped down, like she can't express, and it's very threatening and scary. So even though we're having this little conversation, it feels like my whole security is threatened in this big way. And what actually allows for the repair to be done is simply to like honor what that need is and being with myself, and then asking myself what I need, asking that little girl inside of me, like, what do you need right now? And and then just being like, allowing myself to be witnessed in that is like another layer of it. But just like, there's nothing that I need from Joshua. Like, I can tell you, Joshua, there's nothing I need from you. Just you being willing to listen to my expression and stay, and not run away from me. Like, that's what I'm afraid of, is that you're going to run away from me when you see like the ugliness inside of me, whatever I perceive to be ugly, or you see my negativity, and like allowing myself to be fully drawn into myself, like fully negatively pulled into myself, right? And the more I can get into that, the more I can be negatively drawn into myself and still remain in connection with someone else and say, like, here, you can see this very deep part of me. Like, that's where healing begins to occur, because then that's where it becomes more normalized to and beneficial to have those experiences of sadness. It's like we can create connection from that place, whereas historically we've only created connection from our positivity. We can also create connection from our negativity, and that is what will be the medicine. It's like a continual process of learning that that's safe and allowing the fear to be there and just dissipate as the safety is felt. And I'm appreciating talking about this right now. Thank you. Go ahead.
wow, you communicated so much there. I learned a lot. Just for the sake of me integrating it, I'm hearing a lot around returning to home, kind of coming back to where you are and tuning into that. And there's a bit of a conspiracy theorist side that's coming up for me as well, around if you're masculine, positive, and creating, then you can create work that somebody else can take and appreciate for a more comfortable life. But if you're being feminine and looking after yourself, then that's less exploitable. And so that, yeah, I wonder if like society values masculine from an exploitative perspective as well. But yeah, you've really demonstrated the why it's important to come back to the feminine, and given me a lot of permission as well. Thank you.
Can I tag something onto that? I've recently been struggling with feeling selfish for taking care of my own process first. And so I've actually been kind of at a standstill this week, because last week I had a friend sort of attack me in a roundabout way because my perspective didn't include her perspective. And I was processing my truth in the moment, and she expected me to have the big picture answer. And I'm like, fuck you, first of all, because this was my process that you are hijacking. And I, of course, didn't say that because this is a very dear friend of mine who I love very much. But ever since, it's like, I've been avoiding her because I'm like, you're dealing with your anger and I'm over here trying to process my own stuff, and you continuously expect me to include your stuff in my stuff, and it doesn't work that way. And so I've been in my own internal struggle with feeling selfish for processing my own stuff and feeling like I can't say it out loud because, well, what about what everybody else is going through? And so there's this really angry part of me, this persona that wants to come out, that did come out on Facebook the other day, that was like, call me a selfish prick and suck me, I really don't care. Like, that was what I said in my Facebook post, because I was like, if you want me to be the selfish dick, I will. Like, this first, and then I can deal with this. That's how it works. It's like, for me right now, it's this first, and then I can go out here and deal with all of this and like make a difference in the world, because I can't change the world if I don't change me first. And so yeah, it's been that struggle of feeling selfish for wanting to go within and tend to my heart and my own needs. So thank you for saying that, Katie.
I don't know if I'm able to bring something in with also the meridians and the connection to femininity and masculinity. I have health problems related to the liver meridian, so many of my health things are related to that. And I know somehow that's related to also, I don't specifically know how to explain the theoretical part of it, but this liver meridian is also related to the element of tree in the Chinese medicine, and then that's related to personalities where you execute a lot. So your primary mode of doing things is action and then getting shit done. So that's, I relate to the masculinity. And my mother is this type of personality where
where you get shit done, and then you deal with emotions, or when sadness or such emotions comes, they are secondary to getting things done and getting organized and getting things rolling. And this is something my process is part of a lot of what Katie, you showing to us is, how can I live from the opposite way? How can I have more space for sadness or all the emotions? And then once I've gone inside, how can I then come outside and also do the things that will materialize in the real world? Or that, and it's a huge struggle, because and this is where I come to, I feel like I'm never enough, because the primary way I've learned was that you need to execute first, and then you can feel the emotions. And when I do it the opposite way, I have the feeling like I'm not doing the right thing in the world, or I'm not getting the appreciation for what I'm doing, or I'm not being noticed. Like there's nobody rewarding me for my inner work, or the feeling that I have that I'm more with myself. And then when you, Joshua, brought this topic about the meridians, I think it's an incredible way, as I can connect with my mother and her primary way of doing things. And maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a connection to how I have so many health issues related to this one. So yeah, brings a lot of like, I've been also thinking, how can I heal myself? And I think it's the Katie way also of just, yeah, showing and being there for myself when I have the feelings. Yeah, this came up for me.
And Ulrika, I love that you call it the work. And it's, yeah, like for so much of my life, I've been living from that, like, kind of unhealthy masculine of like, I need to do and ignore anything that's going on in here, and just like be externally productive, because that's what our that's what our sort of patriarchal society rewards. And this year, as I've basically slowed down doing anything external really, and I'm essentially taking a career break to work the 12 steps and do my eating disorder recovery. Like it's been so interesting, and I'm really blessed to have some very special people around me who keep reminding me that like this is the work. I keep being like, oh, I'm not working, like I'm, you know, I feel insecure, I feel shameful that I'm not contributing to society, I'm not like producing, I'm not quote unquote being useful, and I keep having, I've had some really beautiful conversations that remind me, like, no, this grieving and working through the feelings and the triggers and all the stuff that's coming up around this process, like, is work, that is contributing. And that cultivation of deeper awareness and going through my own kind of expansion and healing journey is of service to those around me. And it's just that kind of conditioned part of me that doesn't see that this is valuable. And that doesn't see that this is fucking courageous, exhausting, powerful work. And yeah, like, you know, that sort of inner critic part of me that's like, bloody hell, Abby, all you did today was eat and cry and journal. Like, come on. It's like, it's just like, it's the part of me that's stuck in the way the world views it. And I think it's also, for me, it's also linked with my condition to allow more of that like wild woman archetype, because the wild woman is angry, she is rageful, she's passionate, she's crying on the street, she's like, she's all messy, and you know, like, she's not this like neat, tidy, feminine that society like you know, that we see in like mainstream media. And so I guess I'm rambling a bit, but I've just come to this idea of like deconditioning the feminine as well, and kind of allowing the inner child to be expressed in that way and have it not be put together and neat and, you know, what's the word? Oh, like eloquent, and allowing the mess and allowing the chaos and allowing the anger, or rage rather than anger, but like allowing all of these things just being so important. Yeah, that was maybe a bit of a rant. I'll leave it there.
On this note of like rewarding feminine energy or rewarding the inner work or appreciating the inner work, which both Abby and Annalika has talked about, how can we create more of a culture of that? What does that look like? Because I instinctively want to like outwardly, well, firstly understand it and notice it, recognize it, but then like outwardly reward it. But I'm thinking, is that also a masculine doing, like outwards action in and of itself? Is there a feminine way to acknowledge and reward inner work? And so that's like, yeah, that and also just like examples of good expressions of like feminine energy. I feel like in society we don't know how to like notice it and recognize it, and celebrate it and reward it. And depends on your circles, but like some people are some groups are like really bad at expressing or doing the feminine energy side, as with the masculine too. But I'm like thinking for myself, I don't know where to look for examples of good feminine energy or like, yeah, good approaches towards doing the work, the inner work. Yeah, I think my intention has come across.
Yeah, I love how Abby responded in the chat. I would start by not actively punishing expressions of it and noticing when others tend to, I'm just basically reading what Abby's saying, but it's true, like that there tends to be a fear come up, like actually just noticing your own responses to expressions of feminine energy or negative emotion, what's, you know, any like expression of emotion or feeling, basically noticing when you have maybe feelings inside of you that are uncomfortable in response to it, and instead of making the other person wrong or trying to fix the other person, actually just looking into your own experience and noticing that as the other person's noticing is having their experience. Allow yourself to have your own experience of whatever's coming up for you. Even and it's often, it'll probably be fear a lot of the time, right? There's like a fear of embodied expression of like, oh my God, like that angry person is going to hurt me, or that sad person is I did something wrong. And so just noticing whatever's there in yourself is going to help start to clear it, and you're actually going through a feminine process yourself. Yeah.
I've also noticed that sometimes the like feminine work, which is a good thing, gets mixed up with like not holding great boundaries, for example, or trying to like, I don't know, like maybe that's just me mixing them up, to be fair. But I feel like because like negative feminine energy is like sometimes looked down upon, there are also like genuinely unconstructive behaviors that people have, whether they're being masculine or feminine, and that there's a bit of a tangling that happens between those two. Abby said something months ago around like boundaries, and that's been like such a big thing for me to like be processing, and holding good boundaries being really important for relationships. And like not holding good boundaries is nothing to do with feminine energy. It's just a separate thing, so to speak. But I feel like, I mean, I'm probably just speaking for myself and showing my ignorance, but that I feel like the two get a little bit mixed up sometimes, and we don't really know how to separate like unconstructive relating with feminine inner work.
Yeah, that's great. I would love to bring up the concept of management versus mastery, because it sounds like what you're talking about is management of like a day-to-day activity. Like, I'm doing this thing, I'm feeling this thing, am I holding boundaries in the process? Am I taking care of what needs to be taken care of? This is management. But mastery is a different issue, which is, am I actually shifting my relationship to my being? Am I shifting my relationship to the to my expression, so that my fundamental expression changes based on my purging of emotions? And so I'll say this a different way because that can be confusing. So we could say it also like managing the shadow, the feminine that we're not conscious of is the shadow. Managing the shadow versus mastering the shadow, which is making it all the way conscious. Mastering it is making it all the way conscious, whereas management is knowing what to do with our unconscious material while it's still unconscious, right? So I just take a breath into that because it's a little heady, but I want to make sure it's clear. So I'll say it this way: when I feel an emotion, when I feel a negative emotion, a feminine emotion, all emotions are feminine. And then also, just to add on to that, I'm saying that in my perspective, all emotions are feminine and all emotions are negative, and anything that we feel that's positive is not an emotion. That's our true soul coming through, right? So our soul is not an emotion. Our soul is our soul feels good to be in touch with, and then anything that obscures our connection with our soul is an inward moving experience, and that's the feminine. It needs to take us inward so that we can go outward. And I'll say it like this: when I feel a negative emotion, when I go inward, let's say I'm sad, I'm scared, whatever it is, when I get to the bottom of it, I then begin to laugh. And laughter is the positive expression of our soul, like starting up. It's like the crank of like, okay, and my soul's coming back online. And so at the bottom of a negative emotion, when I have felt the whole thing, and then I begin to laugh, it is that is the alchemy process, right? That is the transmutation process. And there's no pressure to laugh. There's no pressure to get to the bottom if that's not where we're at. But what I really want to express here is our life wants to move forward, which is it's a positive thing. It's a masculine oriented thing. Moving forward is a very masculine thing. And so our soul is here on earth to evolve, which is a positive movement. And in order to evolve, we have to complete all of the negative movements that have been implanted into our field from previous lifetimes, previous generations, and our DNA and our family lineage, all that stuff. And so honoring the negative movement is a part of being a human. When we deal with, let's say, certain channel beings and things like this, they don't have any more shadows. They don't have any more negative movement that they need to do, and so their soul is in line with their being, and so their whole life is like a positive moving thing. And so we're going to change as a species in the next several hundred years in this direction. But right now, we must be doing this alchemical process to complete the karma, the negative karma, which is karma's action or momentum. We need to complete the momentum of negativity that's within us, and we can't avoid it. And this negativity within us that needs to be completed is what creates health issues. It's what creates shadows. It's what creates relationship issues. It's what creates confusion. It's what creates anger. It's what creates judgment. All these things are created because of karmic momentum that is in our field that needs to reach the end, or need to reach the root of that karmic issue. And so every time we cry, we are honoring the negative karma that's in our field. We're giving it energy, we're giving it momentum, we're expunging it, we're purifying it from our field. And I was just talking about this with Katie this morning and yesterday, is we can also become more strengthened in our masculine expression in order to honor our negative karma that way too, which is also known as choosing your vibration, and or choosing your story, or choosing your timeline. And so in doing that, like let's say, for example, I'm feeling really sad. Let's say I'm feeling really sad right now. What does my sad heart really want, right? What is it that I really want that I can't ask for, that I don't think I deserve, that I feel is never going to happen? Choosing to move toward that thing that I really want is a masculine movement for my feminine heart, right? Whereas we usually do the opposite, which is we try to make our feminine heart accommodate the masculine, but it doesn't work that way. Our masculine is for our feminine. Our masculine is for bringing us into greater integrity with how we feel. So I want to invite, if you are feeling disconnected, if you feel afraid of sharing something that is tender for you right now, this is a good time where all of our minds are here to serve our hearts.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned, and the internet cut off for a little bit, so I may have not heard completely. Earlier you mentioned something along the lines of like there's emotion, and then we are moving through the emotion for our soul, and then there are people who are like mainly soul, and they don't have to move through as much like negativity, etc. Does that mean like we're all moving towards the masculine then? Like for these people who are only like quote unquote soul, are they like just pure masculine energy? And then where did their femininity go? Or maybe I'm not understanding it, or maybe I'm getting too heady about this.
Right. Well, it's that they become balanced in their masculine and feminine, and so the ability for them to move forward is no longer dampened in any way. And so they're continuously moving forward, which is that aspect of their masculine is fully intact, and they can express in feminine ways at the same time. But it's almost like a rocket ship is like moving forward, which is very masculine, but at the same time it's burning fuel, which is feminine.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Cool. Let's just take a breath into, if anything tender wants to come up, we just want to make a space for that right now.
I do want to share a little snippet of something that came up for me. Jerome was talking about it a few minutes ago about the masculine being exploitive of our expression and wanting us to always, be focused on the outside instead of going within. And I really don't want to because I'm not comfortable with this, but I was sitting here drawing because you told me to bring arts and crafts, so I brought arts and crafts. and I started feeling an intuitive pull to start drawing, which I really don't do very often. And so this is what, hopefully you can make it out. This is what came up, just intuitively grabbing different colors and coloring what wanted to come out. And it came with this, well, first I'll explain the picture, but it's like the higher chakras meeting the lower chakras inverted. So it's like violet to yellow, if that makes sense. And the picture in my mind is called Skipping the Heart. And I had this note come up with it, and I wrote, when we skip the heart, our thoughts, wisdom, and epiphanies invert in their expression, making us easily exploitable, feeding the ego, and giving us false permission to subdue others. So being out of connection with our own heart, because we don't give ourselves permission to express, it feels like we have the right to force our expression onto everybody else as our hearts cry for wanting to be heard, and everything gets turned backwards. So I wanted to share what was coming up for me intuitively.
Thank you. I'm feeling that transmission. Can you hold up your painting again?
Yeah, I do just want to make it clear too that I know this has been our topic of discussion. And so I feel like what's coming through is pretty much not really from me for me, even though this has been my experience in the past. I just want to share that that's like the energy that's coming through the group in our discussion about society at large, and pretty much channeled into a drawing.
Thank you. I just want to check in with Chanel if you're available.
Okay, well, I was thinking about what you said about karma. My karma has been that people with mental illness keep crossing my boundaries. And both my parents have mental illness. They're both narcissistic, sociopathic, and I've been trying to crawl out from under a rock my whole life. And I don't think very many people know what that's like. It's been a really intense ride. And that's all I really have to say, because that's what's up for me right now.
In that, like, 20 seconds, it's just, there was so much courage that came through. That was amazing. Just being able to own that and to see yourself as innocent in that is just like wonderful. I am so proud of you.
Chanel, I can relate to that with personal experiences with my family, and I honestly, seeing you like say something like that out loud is, I think, really, really powerful. And I think you're really, really brave, and I think just like that, like being able to talk about things like that is really inspiring.
Thank you. I sometimes wonder if people will think I'm crazy if I share what I have to deal with in my life.
I do too sometimes.
I literally have a dad who like wandered into my room today trying to monitor my toileting habits. I don't need to get into it, but I'm just definitely feeling like boundaries being crossed all the time. And then my mom, when I lived with her, she was like shaming me for not eating what she wanted me to eat, and she would literally like put food in my face and like call me like selfish if I didn't eat it and things like that. And so a lot of weird things. And so funny, it's like no wonder I've had like digestive problems my whole life, because I think it's a lot of weird stuff mixed in with like what they've been trying to feed me or put down my throat, and me being unable to like digest the stress of it.
Can I make a suggestion, Chanel? Whether you communicate this with them or not, I would just love to see, like even if you want to do this today on this paper, I would love to see a piece of paper written just for your dad with all the boundaries that you need explicitly written out, and a piece of paper just for your mom with all the boundaries that you need explicitly written out, just so that you know at least. And you might even consider giving it to them if it's done in a loving way that they can really receive it. And just so that you know exactly what is okay for you and what is not okay for you. And I think it'd be a good experience just writing it at the very least. I really appreciate you sharing yourself.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, something that has helped me a bit, if it's possible at all, is to just get away for a bit. Like, I find being in a separate space and having like a separate reality helps you. I guess it goes back to the individualization thing. Like, it at least helped me when I moved away to like finally figure out what's me and what's mine and create those boundaries, so to speak. Yeah, and even if it's for a little bit, like I find just going on a trip sometimes to be really helpful in seeing things in perspective and then coming back. Yeah, thanks again for sharing.
Thank you.
So maybe we can just take a let's say like 2 minutes of silence, I think, and then I would like to transition over to Q and Katie to facilitate the integration experience for us. So maybe we can just all have our feet on the ground, if possible, and just focusing on our breath. And if you have to pee, is okay. And I'll just shut my microphone off, and we can just be in silence and just letting the breath fill our body and transitioning into a space of integration here. I'm gonna mute myself.
We're at a really powerful moment in our group and also individually, where we've all done a lot of courageous work a courageous feminine courageous work of getting in touch with our inner world in a new way. And I want to invite you to honor yourself for having that courage to not only be doing that work for yourself, but also in the presence of everyone in this group. And your presence has enabled other people to go more deeply into themselves and into their experiences. So just take a moment to appreciate yourself in whatever way feels natural to you or feels nourishing for you. And before we begin this integration experience, I invite you to get curious, maybe in a playful way. Maybe you want to wiggle your body out a little bit. I kind of want to. And get curious about what's alive in you, asking is there a persona that has been cut off that wants to speak and express in a safe space? Is there a channel that has been obstructed that wants to be released? And without any pressure on having the right answer, just trusting that whatever comes up is the right answer for you. Call one of your personas to mind. Maybe it's one that you're quite fond of, that you're very attached to, or maybe it's one that's a bit more foreign. And invite it, ask if it would like to come on a little play date or a little excursion. And if that part of you, if that persona says yes, then feel free to bring that along with you into this space. And everything that you are is welcome here, including whatever this aspect of you is. So with that, I'll ask Q if she might lead us in the next portion.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Katie. And yes, thank you everyone for being here now, having experienced the journey of these past 4 weeks, and just taking a time to create some space for a neutral space, a space of peace and of safety to meet that persona that would like to participate in this creative journey that we'll be undertaking in the next few minutes. So if you want to just kind of be grounding yourself in this moment, feeling your body on your seat, your feet on the ground, and closing your eyes if that feels comfortable, and imagining yourself in a place that feels peaceful to you, a place of spaciousness, a place where you can meet with this persona and invite them to come to you, and honoring them as a part of you, as a support to you in your journey. And ask them if they might share with you a gesture or a movement of themselves that you might be able to take forward in this creative journey. So gazing upon them, noticing what you see in their, if they have a form, and what that form appears to be to you today. And allowing space for them to be just as they are. Sharing with you this gesture that is an expression of themselves. And just noticing how it is to be with them, watching them in their expression. And once you've had a little bit of time to observe this gesture, thank them for sharing this with you. And thank them for their participation in this creative process. And now taking some time to return back to the gravity of the space you're in, coming back to the room where you are, feeling your feet again on the ground, feeling gravity supporting your orientation in space. And when you're ready, you can either keep your eyes closed or open them and see what it's like to bring this gesture into your own body. And if you feel called to have your own personal space, you can turn off your camera for this so that you can fully express. If you feel like you want to leave your camera on, you're welcome to. But start to explore what this gesture is in your own body in this space. You can stand up, you can sit on the floor, wherever you want to be exploring this in yourself. And noticing if there's something that's arising in you as you're exploring this gesture. Does it feel pleasurable? Does it feel uncomfortable? And just letting it be what it is without judgment. And start to begin to crystallize this movement into a repeatable short gesture that is one movement, that is short, that you can repeat and begin to explore one aspect of this movement. And I invite you to slow it down. What happens when you make it slow, when you make it bigger? When you include the breath, how does the breath participate in this movement? And wherever you are in this creative journey, trust that you're in the right place. Give yourself space to feel everything that you're feeling. And now, finding a way to return to wherever your paper is. Collecting your paper, and now the invitation is to bring this gesture that you've been exploring, and with your fingertips, just begin to see, how does this gesture, moving this gesture in your body, what happens when you bring that gesture to the paper, and just feeling the tactile sensation of this gesture on the paper. Preparing to translate this movement into another dimension of expression. So finding the sensation of fingertips and paper, bringing this gesture into another dimension of expression. And now, as you feel called and ready, I invite you to explore what it would be like to take one of your colors in one hand and another color in the other hand. So you have two markers or crayons or pens in your hands, one in each hand. And then begin to create marks on your paper with this gesture. And to explore this movement. And with your intuition, decide how big, where on the paper you want to create this gesture. Exploring the form that emerges through this exploration. And if you feel called, you can return to that persona for support and guidance in this exploration. And now, if you've created a form on the paper, taking a moment to step back from it, to place it in a new direction, maybe above you or to the sides of you or below you, taking a new look at what has emerged here. And asking yourself a couple of questions. What is it I see? What is it that I feel seeing this image? What do I imagine as I look on this image? And noticing where your breath is in this process. And now, having spent some time observing the image, see if there's anything that wants to be added. And this can come from your intuition. You may receive a message from this persona asking for something to be added. And I invite you to add it. And taking another minute or two to tune in with the image and any messages from the persona that want to be heard and expressed on paper. And starting to bring that part to a close for now, knowing that you can return to your image at another time. I invite you to complete this simple poem about this persona that you've taken some time to work with, play with here, explore. And whatever emerges is fine. And using your intuition to guide you, I invite you to answer these questions. You can write them down, you can type them, just answer them in your head, whatever feels available and good to you now. The questions are, and this is from the perspective of the persona that you've been exploring. I am, and then the name of this persona. So I am this persona. I am the one who, and this is the role that this persona has for you. In the shadows, I am, and this is some maybe hidden aspect or seemingly negative aspect of this persona. In the light, I am, and this is some positive aspect or some beneficial seeming aspect of this persona. And finally, what I most want for you is and this is some positive intent that this persona has for you. And now, as you're completing this stem poem, these words from your persona, I invite you to just tune in again with your breath, with anything that is stirring in you, honoring that play of internal love and experience and the external action and creativity of exploration, giving space for both and the dynamics between. And maybe taking a moment to tune in and see if there's any needs that you have right now that you're aware of. Maybe a need for space or peace. And taking another few moments to bring whatever is stirring to some place of stillness. Where we can bring these processes to a close for now. Maybe expressing gratitude to yourself for showing up to this creative journey, and also expressing gratitude to this aspect of yourself, this persona that has accompanied you in this process. And if you're still working on something, that's all right. I want to invite anyone who it feels called to share from any part of this creative journey. You can share a gesture, the image, the poem, and you can also share whatever is present from the past 4 weeks. Anything that feels most alive for you to share right now is perfect.
And also if there's tenderness, I welcome that.
So I'll share that I was with toddler Abby, the one who wants what she wants and doesn't want to have to like give up her toys, and yeah, I was just kind of exploring like the sort of fluff type action that like kids sometimes do, that kind of like yeah, and then it was kind of oscillating between that and like the warrior parent, like creating boundaries of like, no, I'm not allowing these things into my experience, and no, I'm standing up for myself. Yeah, that kind of like loving, responsible, protective parent. Yeah, I really enjoyed that exercise. Thank you so much for guiding it, Q. That was like really what I needed. I still feel like there's like a massive well of sadness that I can't quite get to. Like sometimes it's like I try and fight. Like I get stuck in the kind of like high energy sort of anger or frustration, and I want to like soften into the sadness somehow. But yeah, I really enjoyed having permission to just like fully express and embody my toddler and just be like, I really needed that. I think like I've had my favorite toy taken away today. My toddler is just like, no. Yeah, so that was really beautiful.
Amazing. So beautiful. I love how fully you went in and allowed for that expression.
So can I share?
Yes, please.
So earlier on, there was a lot of feelings that I feel I shouldn't express, and it's received badly, and I judge myself for having it and want to keep it in. And then I've been trying to more lean into the antidote for that, the positive personas I have that just haven't received much attention in the last few years. And I remembered I have this like really awesome persona who, from your beautiful poem exercise, I've just called She. And she's just really sassy, and she, with a bit of a like eyebrow raise and a bit of a like cheeky grin, gets what is needed to be done in a place of deep wisdom, but with a kind of like smile at the game that she knows is kind of going on, and kind of observe. And I drew, this is what represented her for me. So I was walking around my sitting room, like doing my little grin and my eyebrow raise and my sassy walk, and I'd love to read you my poem as well. It was a really beautiful exercise, Q. It was really well put together. So she says, I am she. I'm the one who with levity, femininity, and strength pieces a potion to combat your poison. In the shadows, I'm judging, because she can do that sometimes. And in the light, I'm breaking ceilings and smashing crystals. What I most want for you, as in for me, is for you to wield me more and do not forget who we are. And that exercise really helped me reconnect with her and feel like I can whip her out and step into her more. So thank you, Q. Really gonna get sassy.
I feel myself vibrate and little tears in my eyes of joy and hearing that.
Okay, I'll go next. Yeah, when you first started the exercise and having us ask what persona wanted to come forward. It was hilarious at first until now when the gravity of it is hitting me after the poem. I'll just read you the poem and it'll speak for itself. I am Sex Kitten. I am the one who wants deep physical intimacy and affection. In the shadows, I am an insatiable succubus. In the light, I am a nurturing goddess. What I most want from you is expression, because that is a side of myself that I do not let be seen. It's very hard for me to express myself as an attractive being and to embody feeling attractive or sexy. And that's something I'm struggling with right now. So that's what wanted to come up for me. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a privilege to witness you.
I can share mine.
Yes, please.
I don't know if my music is a problem here. Okay. So I was playing with my movements, and I felt that the thing that felt the most delicious to me was, it was almost like I was weightlifting, like butterfly lifts, like oh, and it was like some kind of like strongman persona, I guess. Sort of like the word that comes to me is like Titan. And so I'll share my art piece here. And it just felt like the art piece came out a lot more exciting and colorful than I would have imagined, a lot more feminine, you could say. And I imagined it to be a very masculine persona, but being expressed in this way, it really helps me see that, like I mentioned before, the rocket ship with the fuel burning, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. And it kind of gives me a deeper understanding of myself in that area, which is like, I sort of have a fear of, if I am super masculine in my movements, that I'll lose my feminine aspect somehow, but it's not the case. It'll always be there. My feminine will always be there, just powering me in a different way. It doesn't have to always be visible to the naked eye in order to be felt by me and present and a part of my experience. So yeah, and I discovered that through looking at my art piece. So thank you.
I'll go since we're unmuted. Yeah, thank you so much for guiding this. Even though I knew what was going to happen, I still went on this journey, and it was so grateful to have felt really held the whole time. And I didn't have a clear idea of what persona I was working with. I just kind of went into movements that felt really good and juicy, and it was almost like this strangling motion. Like this is what I was doing, was this like there was like a lot of anger behind it. And I happened to have watercolors next to me, and so I just like wanted to like kind of do that, and I did it with my fingers in watercolors. And then when you asked if something wanted to be added, I kind of made this up here, which is just like a rainbow, like all the colors, and they kind of go into, it was interesting, like it was sort of like all of this chaos, and then it goes into coherence once it's expressed. And yeah, I can read my poem that I wrote too. So it was like quite a transformation, because I didn't know who this was. But I am your fiery goddess. I am the one who fuels your creativity. In the shadows, I am angry. In the light, I'm passionate, playful, and powerful. What I most want for you is to let your light shine without fear. Trust that there is only love here. And I suppose like I was feeling a lot of anger in like the expression, and similar to Joshua, like I'm noticing that it's pretty, even though it's angry. It's still like a pretty expression. It's like, so just allowing it is what it is what it wants. So thank you very much.
We have a little bit more time for sharing if anyone feels called. Abby, is there something that's arising for you?
I just wanted to show you all the sunset. It's just got a really beautiful sunset that's happening outside of my window right now.
Ooh.
I don't know if you can see it, but
yeah,
it's a really powerful sunset. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a little juiciness of like a taste of co-locating, what it would be like if we were actually there to share that sunset. Thank you.
I connected with the sensitive crier in me, and what I got out of, one of the things I got out of the exercise was a picture of the home that I want to live in. So that's something that's present in my life. So I'm gonna be, it was so helpful when Joshua said that if you listen to yourself, and then you can find the masculine of doing. And I've struggled because I'm supposed to move, but I haven't done anything about it. And then I listened, and I saw the picture of the home, and yeah, time to do something about it. So I'm gonna start looking for that home.
Wow.
And there's a lot of sadness related to it, and it's hard to express because it's so much. But being with that persona is it's comforting. So yeah, I can't even believe what life will be when I have my home. And it's scary.
I'm feeling the bigness of that. I'm also feeling the tenderness of listening. and the power of the vision. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm remembering the trees of our group. And being together. Supporting. Are you in touch with any needs in this moment?
I'm good.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity to practice supporting that going inside by turning to myself also in this moment. To give space for what's arising in all places. I want to offer space for anyone who hasn't shared to share if they wish to. Chanel or Jerome or Amy. Is that your option, of course?
Hey, that worked. My button's off. I held back because maybe it was a slightly different energy that came out for me, and let the vibrations go where they're going, kind of a thing. But you know what? You created enough negative space that I'm like, okay. Oh, shit. So actually, before I show this, like the motion with my fingers on the paper was like that, kind of like this kind of motion on the page. I was getting very tactile. It's really nice paper as well. Very tactile, feeling it. And so it came out looking like this.
Mm.
And did it for like two-handed, the semicircles at the same time, each of these concentric circles. The jug came in at the end, that was the last thing. So it started with the lines and then the little triangles and the circles and then the jug and the little musical thing at the very end. When you were saying stop, I was like, but I want to have some music. This was a very, well, I'm the one who dances, so that gives you a bit of an idea. We'll get back to it in a sec, but like, yep, there was dance, there was expression, there was joker, there was just like, I was panting a bit like a dog, like that kind of a thing as well. And I'm kind of hesitant or embarrassed to like quite like explain this because I probably don't understand it intellectually correctly, but I've got like some learnings from today or from the whole series that's embedded in this. And I kind of post-rationalized or interpreted this as kind of like two gears in motion with each other. One representing a feminine and one representing a masculine energy. And I kind of feel like I've kind of like collapsed into the feminine for over a year and kind of like not really oriented myself within it very, very well. And I've been kind of like just, when I was in that space, just kind of like reconnecting with and expressing a bit of a masculine outwards kind of flowing kind of energy, but it's kind of like powered by this feminine. So it's kind of imagining this sense of like constantly nurturing the inner self and doing that kind of work, but also like at the same time or in the same day at least, just kind of expressing a bit of outward kind of masculine kind of doing, talking, dancing, laughing, making fun, kind of ridiculousness energy. And then this last thing we added is a kind of a lubricant that helps those gears and helps that cycle of the two things kind of like work with each other and be in motion together. And I feel like this lubricant is Truth Dojo. Yeah! And you help me understand that these gears exist as well. So fuck yeah. So I'll just read the poem. It doesn't really mean much. I didn't have much time for it, so we're gonna like redo it another time as well. But I am Jago. I am the one who dances. In the shadows, I'm a bulldozer. And in the light, I am love. What I want for you is liberation. And that's it. That's what came out. I'm glad the camera was off because I wouldn't want that recorded. Thank you. That was cool.
So glad you participated. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So, unless there's any more to be shared about this process, I would love to offer a final few moments of integration space. And so in order to do that, I just invite you to make a request of your mind to step aside for a few moments to allow space for integration in the whole of the self. And taking your right hand to your heart chakra, feeling yourself there, that energy center. And taking your left hand and placing it over your third eye, feeling that center as well. Noticing the energies and how they are in this moment. Recognizing the power and tenderness, perhaps pulsing energy, these guiding places. And taking a few
deep breaths. Present with these centers. And now placing one hand and then the other upon your knees, recognizing these knees that support you and help you move through the world. Feeling the contact between your hands and your knees. And now bringing your hands to the tops of your feet. So you may need to lean down or adjust so that you can reach your feet. Bringing one hand and the next to the tops of your feet. Recognizing these feet that, like your knees, help you move through this world, ground you to the earth. And now releasing that and bringing your right hand to your belly button and placing your left hand over your right. Bringing presence to this core of yourself. Recognizing yourself for the way that you have shown up for this work and this play. Knowing that what you've done here is enough. For today. Thank you. It's an honor to be with you all, as always, in these Truth Dojo experiences, and also in this experience of creative journey and integration. Thank you for your trust and presence in this.
Thank you, everybody. That was super fun. More of that, and we're going to be bringing more of this variable, different kinds of ways of interacting in future series. So really grateful for diving into the first one here. And next week we'll be off. So we'll take a 1 week break. A pleasure as always.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Q.
I'm feeling like
some sound needs to come out. Like,
everyone unmute yourself. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you.
You amazing, silly humans.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in the Facebook group and WhatsApp group and wherever else until next time. See you here in 2 weeks then.
So much love to you all.
Bye bye, lovely personas.
Bye, sweet little personas.
Bye.
Bye.